Well, good afternoon, everyone. You might have noticed within the last 24 hours, the administration announced weapons sales to the Israelis. What you might not have known is this weapon sale has nothing to do with the current conflict. The weapon sales that they announced are for weapons that won't be ready for a number of years. So as far as I can tell, they're still withholding weapon systems from the Israelis, and I can speak again for almost everybody in my conference. We don't think we ought to be telling a Democratic ally when to have an election or how to conduct a military conflict on their borders. So don't take this announcement last night seriously, because it has nothing to do with the current conflict.
Well, poll after poll shows that the American people think the economy is the most important issue to them. And more importantly, that Bidenomics has made their financial situation worse. 80% of Americans say that inflation is the biggest or one of the biggest financial issues that they are dealing with, and a majority of Americans say that they are worse off financially under the Biden administration policies, or what we know as Bidenflation. And so if you think about this next election, what people are going to be talking about, what they care about, I think that's going to be front and center for most Americans. In fact, it's $1,000 more per month just to maintain the same cost of living that people had when President Biden took office. And so, of course, Republicans believe that the best way to get growth in the economy, keep inflation under control, are through good pro-growth economic policies, less spending, less regulations, and that's the very opposite of what the Biden administration has put forward. And so we're going to continue to highlight the differences between this administration's policies, and clearly the American people are feeling it in their pocketbooks on a daily basis. It's 19.9%, the cumulative inflation rate since President Biden took office. And if you look at just groceries, over 21% more people are paying out of their pockets since this president took office. This is a major issue for the American people, and one for which the Biden administration is going to have an answer, and clearly they don't.
Well, Joe Biden and the Democrats are terrified because they know they're going to be held accountable for the results in this country and the damage done by illegal immigrants who are here. And the Democrats know they're going to have to pay the price come November elections. So let's start with what happened on Joe Biden's first day in office. He signed his first of 94 executive actions throwing open the border. And then Democrats in the House and the Senate aggressively rolled back the rules that had worked in a previous administration to keep us safe, to keep our borders secure. So today, every Democrat in the House and in the Senate is responsible for the drugs, the death, and the destruction that we're facing as a result of illegal immigrants. Right now, these sanctuary cities have become standoffs between exhausted police and so many illegal immigrants. And the illegal immigrants in Denver, a sanctuary city, don't even want to go into the free housing areas that are set up for them, the shelters, unless a list of 13 different demands are met. You cannot make this up. It's not just enough that they want free 3 meals a day. No, they want them with culturally specific foods. It's not enough for free doctors and free lawyers. No, they want specific specialists. So what's the Democrats going to do about this in Denver? Oh, they have some plans. They're going to have to pay for this. So they're going to defund the police for the tune of $8.5 million. Well, that's not enough. What else are they going to do? Well, they're going to defund the fire department for $2.5 million. Additionally, last week in Florida, an 11-year-old girl kidnapped, sexually abused by a 20-year-old illegal immigrant here because of Joe Biden's catch and release plan. Republicans know what we need to do. It's finish the wall, it's stop this catch and release, and it's bring back a policy that worked called Remain in Mexico. And for all those police officers who've lost their jobs doing the defunding of the police in Denver, well, Wyoming has a solution. Wyoming's advertising. Here it is. Work in Wyoming, where breaking the law is still illegal and cops are funded. This is a billboard in Denver for the place that has defunded the police.
God bless Wyoming. President Biden, stop letting the American left dictate your foreign policy. Campus protests and threats and intimidation of Jewish students has now turned into graduation walkouts. This weekend, we saw walkouts. We saw demonstrations at Duke, Virginia Commonwealth, the University of North Carolina, among others, all in protest of our support of Israel. And while Israel is worried about its own security, Biden is worried about his election. So what does President Biden do? He imposes a de facto arms embargo, not on Iran, the world's leading state sponsor of terror, but on Israel. Why would President Biden give sanctions relief to Iran and clamp down on our ally Israel? I'll tell you why, because he's scared of his base. He's scared of the pro-Hamas protesters on campuses and in places like Dearborn, Michigan. These folks might as well be the shadow National Security Council. They are running American foreign policy in the White House. Mr. President, letting pro-Hamas protesters dictate your foreign policy is very dangerous. And it's not just President Biden, it's Senate Democrats as well. In fact, Senator Cotton has a bill that would force the Biden administration to send these weapons to Israel, and yet not a single Democrat senator supports it. It's time for moral clarity. It's time for Joe Biden and Senate Democrats to stop worrying about their reelection and start worrying about America's security.
The Speaker was at New York yesterday saying that the former president's trial was a sham of a trial, a travesty of justice, and was done intentionally to keep him there. Do you agree with the Speaker?
Tries every week, doesn't he? Look, I've made it clear I'm going to focus on getting the Senate majority back, and I think we've taken a big step toward that yesterday in West Virginia, and I'll be happy to take another question.
Leader McConnell, the Republican group One Nation is putting $70 million into Senate races, Senate battlegrounds, but not Maryland. Where do you think Maryland ranks on the list of likely Republican pickups, and do you think Republicans need to put more money into that race?
Well, as you know, that's an outside group. I recommend you call them for comment.
Leader McConnell?
Burgess?
Yeah, if Senator Menendez is convicted at his trial, do you think the Senate should move to expel him?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
Should Senator Menendez be expelled if he's convicted at his trial?
Menendez, should he be expelled? Senator Menendez, if he gets convicted. Bob Menendez.
Yeah, look, I'm really glad he's not a Republican.
Leader McConnell,
Yeah.
as Monica mentioned, Speaker Johnson was in front of the courthouse yesterday defending the presumptive GOP nominee. Is it important to see the Senate GOP leader up there as well?
Well, I can speak for myself with regard to who may have attended the trial. You'll have to ask them why.
It's important for you to visit.
You'll have to. They don't work for me. I wish it were that easy.
Leader McConnell, in this Republican-led bill to try and compel Israel to the U.S. to provide these weapons to Israel, is that the best path forward? Can you compel Leader Schumer to take that up?
Well, we're beyond frustrated. I mean, I can't imagine anything less appropriate than us telling the Israelis, a Democratic elected ally, that they ought to have an election and what their military tactics ought to be. So the weapon sales ought to be related to what they need now, not years from now, as the announcement last night. I mean, how would we react if people came across our border and did what the Israelis experienced on October 7th? I don't think we'd be taking anybody's advice about how to proceed to pay them back.
Should there be a red line, though, about how many Palestinian civilians are injured or killed?
No, I don't think we ought to tell the Israelis how to conduct the military campaign. Period. Thanks.
Leader McConnell?